Dave Damashek filling in for Rich Eisen. Rich Eisen, happy Yom Kippur. Although it's not a happy holiday. You see, you atone for your sins is what you do. I'm sitting here and I'm talking to Jim Ross, WWE Hall of Famer, a legend of broadcasting, host of Podcast One's The Ross Report. Find him at JR's Barbecue. And you're a big Sooners fan as well, huh, Jim Ross? Welcome.
I am big. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
I like a guy who wears his cowboy hat around. That was a trend back in when I was a little kid. I remember Dallas was at its heyday. Growing up in Pittsburgh, even people then would walk around in Cowboys hats. That was a weird thing to see in the Three Rivers.
I'm sure it is. When I go back there, my wife is from Pittsburgh.
Oh, is that right?
So we are a Steeler household on Sunday and an Oklahoma household on Saturday. So it's a wonderful pigskin existence in my household.
Oh, it must be really splendid then when Landry Jones goes under center in the black and gold.
Oh, well, so carried away here, Dave.
Jim Ross, let's talk about, there are all sorts of things that we could jump into, wrestling related and college football. You travel around with the Sooners as much as you can. But we were talking before the show, there's so many things. The Chris's and I over there are also big fans of yours. And is that what you deal with everywhere you go is, I loved this call of yours?
Sometimes I get that. I think that your generation, your age group, Chris's age group, I was kind of their babysitter to some degree. Every Monday night, I was their voice. So I get it all the time. I was standing in line the other day to board a flight in Dallas. This guy was standing behind me, and he's really close. He's really in my face. He's got like a 12 or 13-year-old kid with his son. And he says, he's whispering, not sweet nothings. He's whispering, for the love of God, they killed him. Stop the damn match. I'm thinking, okay, pal, all right, I get it. 1998, Mick Foley, Pittsburgh's Igloo, off the cell. And so I turn around and look at the guy, and his kid is absolutely just blown away, embarrassed. And I said to the kid, I go, and he said, he does it all the time. It's so embarrassing.
Well, my personal favorite, I think, is when The Undertaker choked out the Phoenix Suns gorilla. And you shouted, look, he's just a man. Because, maybe The Undertaker didn't realize that wasn't an actual gorilla.
No, of course. He's from Death Valley. And people in Death Valley don't understand what a mascot is. You didn't know that. That's new news. Yeah, so you got to put your heart and soul in it.
Yeah, you had to get away from any objectivity as a broadcaster and act like a human being in that moment.
Correct.
Right.
That's my deal.
So who is your favorite? Obviously, you're a sports fan in general. Who do you consider the legends of broadcasting?
Well, when I was a kid, and that actually happened at one point, I had a transistor radio and enlisted KMOX radio out of St. Louis. Harry Carey, Jack Buck were my voices of my childhood. Plus, the 50-year broadcasting voice of Oklahoma Sooners, Bob Berry Sr., was another big influence. And then, of course, then Keith Jackson. I like the Southern guys because that was what I was going to be. If I was going to make it, it's going to be as a chubby Southern guy with an Oklahoma accent. I didn't realize I was going to have Bell's palsy 3 times and have facial paralysis, but you work through those little bumps in the road to get it done. But I love Keith Jackson, Kirk Gowdy. Kirk Gowdy was at one time the voice of the Oklahoma Sooners, as was Walter Cronkite. So our football program's got kind of a unique lineage of broadcasters.
Wow, I didn't know that about Cronkite. But, I'm with you 100%, of course. With this hideous voice, I have no business doing the job, thanks to guys like you, Myron Cope in Pittsburgh, who didn't exactly.
Cope.
Yeah, that's the terrible towel is poised to strike.
It's a terrible call.
And so are the Steelers. Yoy and double yoy. Let's talk about the Sooners, though. There's a lot of heat going on right now with Coach Stoops because a lot of people, for better or worse, we have these preseason polls, which I'm philosophically against. I'm all for the polls, understand, just not the preseason ones. A lot of people thought the Sooners were going to be right back in that Final Four. Brian Bosworth says it's time for Stoops to move on. How say you, Jim Ross?
Disagree totally. I understand the angst, the passion, the love, the program that Boz has. He's a friend of mine. But, look, this program is healthy. The stadium renovation is amazing. The recruiting is excellent right now. The class of 17 is going to be huge. And Bob has won, as I said, more Big 12 titles than all the other coaches combined in the league. And some pretty good coaches have been passing through those doors at one point. So I think it's an overreaction. I think it's not necessarily Boz, but a lot of the fans are spoiled. They're entitled. And we live in a contrarian society. Social media has created us all to be experts, so we can hide behind our keyboards and become keyboard warriors and to say whatever the hell we want. So I think, Bob, I think we're very blessed to have Bob Stoops as our head coach. And when I travel and somebody asks me these questions over a beer or something, they say, man, if you guys get rid of him, we'd love to have him. So I think that we're blessed to have Bob Stoops.
That's a great point, because it's easy to be cavalier about, we need to move on from this guy. Do you know who you're replacing him with? That's the real question. If you don't have a viable option there, then maybe you shouldn't be careful what you wish for with that sort of thing.
Wholeheartedly agree. And the program's clean. We got the Final Four last year. We didn't have any business being in the Final Four last year in all reality. It was coaching and kids believing in the coach. That we can accomplish things. And then, of course, we ran into Clemson, and they took us to the woodshed, and we stayed there.
How do you like the makeup of that? Do you like the Final Four? Is that the right number of teams?
Yeah, I think so. I like the Final Four based on what we had. I think that eventually, because of TV money, and again, it's a great programming tool, that 4 will expand to probably 8.
I bet you we will get to 8, but as somebody who believes in meritocracy, I love the 4 is the perfect number, because there's just no dead weight. You can't get it. There's not whoever is the 5th team has no claim to the top spot, if you know what I mean. If you're the 3rd team, you could say we really should have been in that championship game. If you're number 5, you probably can't really make a compelling argument that we're really the best team in the country.
Adding a bunch of teams is tough, but what do you guys think of making it a 6-team, 1 and 2 bye, 3 and 4 host the first game, so the kids don't have to travel, that are on campus, you get that atmosphere, and doing something like that, because it is a lot to ask fans to travel once you start getting to 8, 16 teams. But what about 6?
I think it's a very good point. We are good points. We are Penn State.
Appreciate that.
I think that the TV world and the conferences that are prisoners to the money are not really thinking about the fans as much as they should, and certainly the parents of the athletes. You know, West Virginia's in our league, the Big 12. I love going to West Virginia. Last time I was there, I had too much apple cobbler moonshine. I think I did.
That sounds like the worst thing I could possibly ingest. I can't imagine what would be worse.
Ingesting that's cruel. It's really good. It's too good.
Really?
Oh, buddy. But nonetheless, that's another story for another time. But here's the thing. How do you get from the Big 12 area, the heartbeat, the Oklahoma, Texas area, to Morgantown? You go to Pittsburgh, and you drive. Because a normal family, it's a 3-day trip, car-wise, basically. So it's illogical. I love the fact of you earn a home berth, like the NFL.
Sure.
You earn the opportunity to play at home. And boy, that's money.
I think that would be great, as a matter of fact, Law. And as long as we have the Power 5 conferences, I think if you put a representative, the champ from each of those, and then you have the wild card. If you have one of those LSU, Bama kind of situations, you can put that team in. Or if you have a team from one of those, from one of those other conferences there, BYU happens to be great in a given year, you give them the wild card.
Yeah,
Dynamite idea.
Houston kind of a bracket buster this year. But you want to catch a quick 60-second break?
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, Chris Law. Let's take a quick 60-second break, and then more with the great Jim Ross, Hall of Famer of the WWE. We're going to have some fun and see if he can do play-by-play in another sport here coming up on The Rich Eisen Show. It's The Rich Eisen Show, and I'm sad to say we only have 26 odd minutes left to go here. We're joined, though, by WWE Hall of Famer Jim Ross. I want to let you know to listen up, sports fans. If you want to win $250 gift card from Fanatics, you need to go to richeisenshow.com and submit a picture that shows how you are your team's ultimate fan. At the end of the week, I'll select, well, I'm not going to, Eisen's going to select the best Fanatics, although I can call in. I'm available to let you know who I think is best.
Maybe we'll phone a friend for that one. We'll phone you up, Shaq.
Okay, let me know if you need my help with this one. At the end of the week, Rich and company, and probably me, will select the best Fanatics ultimate fan picture of the week and give one lucky fan that $250 gift card from Fanatics. Fanatics, it's the world's largest collection of official fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and players you love. Officially licensed everything Fanatics, and like I say, we have Jim Ross. Fight TV, the all-combat sports streaming TV application. You need to check this out. Just launched earlier this year, and we're talking about wrestling. We're talking about college football. We want to see, you're one of the all-time great play-by-play guys in sport. We want to see how you do with that, but also the Chris has had the grand idea to try and figure out what the best intro music is for a wrestler in history. How say you, Jim Ross?
I think the most chilling entrance in all of sports entertainment is The Undertaker's entrance. But there are other guys that really have had amazing entrances. When the glass breaks and Stone Cold comes out, there was really nothing quite like that in that Attitude Era. And of course, I signed The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and his music's very memorable as well. Shawn Michaels, the Sexy Boy theme, a lot of that stuff is really good. But Undertaker just is the most chilling, memorable, because they cool the arena down. The lights are really neat, and it's slow, and it's almost like a funeral procession.
It is true. Is Andre the Giant, did he have that, or did he predate intro music?
Andre predated music.
Music, period.
Yeah, all music, of course. And he did not predate alcohol.
Yeah, I've heard tales.
I've been with him where he's had. I think the best count I ever had with him personally was 127 beers.
Wait, so that's true?
Over how many hours did this happen?
Oh, maybe 2 or 3.
2 or 3 hours. The man. Now listen, Andre the Giant was a sizable human, but 127 cans of beer.
Oh yeah, but you got to understand that the can would hide in his hand. It's 2 shots.
Yeah,
it's like you and I having a shot of something, milk or whatever.
Like a thimble. Yeah, that's my thing.
Of course,
milk.
Yes. And then he would normally chase or soy, and he would normally chase the beer with bottles of wine. And I remember one night he got drunk in Detroit, and they had to get him to his hotel room in a luggage cart because nobody could get him up his stool at the bar. So he was a classic character.
King Kong Bundy always had to be there to be his wingman to try and carry. He's the only other human who could
King
probably
Kong
pick.
Bundy had this. Of course, he had his eating addiction of Twinkies. I'm kidding. He's a good guy.
That would have been intimidating in a way, if you were about to get into the squared circle with King Kong Bundy, and he was so cavalier about the bout with you, he just ate a few Twinkies to get ready.
That's it.
That would have been something. Law, what do you say is the best intro song?
Oh, it's tough. The Undertaker's on there because just hearing the bell ring and then the auditorium going dark was always pretty cool. But I was kind of the Stone Cold generation, so that glass shattering, pretty fun.
I mean, I grew up with "I Am a Real American." Hulk Hogan comes out.
Good too.
Pumping the fist. Eat your vitamins, drink your milk. But when the glass breaks, it's your ass, and it's about to get real.
Yeah, I'm old school like you, Brockman. I think I have to. I don't want to overthink this one. I think I Am a Real American. Hulk Hogan in there.
Do you think Hogan played that during the verdict of the Gawker trial? I am a real American.
I'd like to think so.
I've taken all your money again. Something like that.
That works out and everything. We're doing a poll on that one, Law?
Yeah, it's up on richeisenshow.com. You can vote. Wouldn't it tell them the nominees, Brockman?
Yeah, Stone Cold, The Undertaker, The Rock, Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels. I left off the $1 Million Man.
Oh, you left off DiBiase?
Yeah, no one knows. No one cares
Ted
about the $1 Million
DiBiase.
Man.
No one knows the $1 Million Man. Shame the devil if no one knows who he is.
Everybody's got a price, Dave.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You're here, right?
Who's
You're
your
here today.
favorite?
That's right.
Everybody's got a price.
Jim, of all time, who's your favorite? I know you're close to these guys. Do you have a favorite? Are you allowed to have a favorite?
Sure, I'm a fan. I'm unabashedly a fan of pro wrestling and all other sports and entertainment. Austin is my guy because we became great friends, and he was the guy that he became the perfect fan favorite to Vince McMahon's perfect villain. The Austin McMahon era was amazing. I think those guys, along with a lot of other really hardworking people, created a $160 million IPO that launched the WWE into a publicly traded company, which is doing very well right now with their digital network and all those things. So Austin kind of was a point guy, but he had a lot of good teammates with him, but he would be the #1 guy in my book.
Well, I always loved Rowdy Roddy Piper, of course, yeah. Piper's Pit. So many seminal moments in the history of wrestling went down there. That's when the Giant turned on the Hulkster. I still am not over that one emotionally. I always wondered this, though, when Piper's in the conversation, I think of his wingman, Cowboy Bob Orton. Do you know medically? I know you're not a doctor, Jim, but you know.
But I played one on television.
Did you?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
then maybe you can help me out with this.
Yes.
He had that broken forearm for like 12 years, but the cast didn't even like cover his hand. It was just like he had that cast on forever. That never healed up.
Well, first of all, Dave, you're really overthinking this. You're really overthinking this because you just don't know the intricacies of an athletic arm break.
Yeah, maybe it's just I'm not
And
at
I
that
think
level.
maybe he
right?
re-broke it several times, but he seemed to always find a use for it when the referee's back was turned. It was very coincidental.
That was strange that he did it. Somehow his bouts did often. Now that you mentioned that, I realize that. Yeah, he did use that thing a lot as a weapon.
I signed his son, Randy Orton, to a contract with WWE in my best recruiting class. Randy Orton, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Dave Bautista, and Shelton Benjamin. I had 5 guys in that one class that all became big-time stars.
Yeah, guys. Some of those guys have broken out beyond the world.
5-star guys.
Yeah, awesome. Chris Law, what are we doing here? We're going to try the little play-by-play action?
Let's catch a break here for the TV audience. We're going to we have some infamous heel plays, if you will, from the NFL. And we're going to have Jim do his thing and kind of voice them over. That'll be available on the Rich Eisen Show app. If you're driving in your car and you want to see that, that'll be up a little bit later today. But we'll wrap it up here with Jim for the radio.
All right, excellent. And a reminder, Fight TV, it's the all-combat sports streaming TV app. Jim has had a hand in putting this thing together. Anything you want to say about it?
It's free, number one. It's everything combat sports oriented. MMA, boxing, pro wrestling, if you want to call that a combat sport. A lot of free content. Simply try the Fight app, F-I-T-E. Remember, fight like you mean it.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.